Greetings, fellow RotoBallers. Hello, my name is Joey Christopoulos with my co-host, Teddy Guy Dave Rispoli. Welcome back to Week 3, the Checkdown, ladies and gentlemen. This is the show that's going to be showing you our favorite quarterback starts and sits for Week 3, as long as tight ends start and sits Week 3. Time stamping it, we're recording this on a Monday afternoon, so a lot to happen, a lot to still go down. But Dave, I'm ready to rock. How are you?
I feel good, Joey. I don't want to cut this short, but I do have 2 appointments today. I'm auditioning to be the running back for both the 49ers and the Ravens. I think my age range is going to fall into more of the Ravens category, but we'll see what happens.
Ooh, wow. Profile it out. Let's just see what goes on. Sorry, Le'Veon Bell. Dave, real quick before we get started, too, this is the part we can take some time on. We did pretty well last week. Just talk about a couple of our hits before we get to our picks for Week 3.
Yeah, we had some great starts. Our start of the week was Herbert. Now, look, maybe not as big of a box score as we were all hoping for. Still got you a very solid game. And here's the thing. We were right. He looks great. We may be wrong about him being a bust in the offseason, Joe. He looked the part, and his receivers had a lot of drops. Again, I foresee him going onward and upward. Hurts didn't look as great as week 1, but still got you 20 fantasy points. Got it all done with his legs. That's Hurts's floor. So I'm loving Hurts moving forward. And Baker Mayfield got you 1 touchdown through the air, 1 on the ground, even without Landry and Odell. But Baker may be making an appearance on a different list this week, Joey, as we get further down the trough. But we also told you, Tua, Burrow, Tannehill all looked a bit shaky. We thought that was going to happen. So we're almost 6 for 6, Joey. Let's hit them with the starts of this week.
Will Baker be the greatest television commercial actor of all time? You're just going to have to wait and find out, ladies and gentlemen. He is, says Dave.
I would start him in any commercial actor league. He'd be my 101 pick for sure.
So let's dive right into it. We're getting into our quarterback starts for Week 3. But first, let's be very clear here, everyone. We all know that you're starting Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert.
Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray. All these dudes are already in your lineup. These are must starts, so we don't need to go over this right now. We're talking about some guys that we like matchup-wise that are probably in the top 12, but maybe on the fringes of that too as well. And Dave, it starts first with Matthew Stafford versus the Buccaneers. Talk to us about this guy, because the Buccaneers are winning big, but they're giving up tons of passing yards.
Yeah, and I think this is the recipe for fantasy success, Joe. You got a high-powered offense of one side, a defense that's struggling on the other side, giving up tons of points to opposing quarterbacks. And Stafford looks like he's found the perfect fit for him. You know, as a Bears fan, happy to see him get out of the division onto bigger and better things, greener pastures.
Retirement home.
Yeah, but he had a bit more of an up and down week in week 2, but this guy is finding Cooper Kupp all over the field. He still threw 30 times for 278 yards and 2 tutties. And just like the Seahawks team that faces a Bucks that have put up 24 points of offense, the way you beat them is through the air. And maybe without Darrell Henderson, I could see Sean McVay really letting Stafford fire on all cylinders in this.
Yeah, I love the pick, man. Buccaneers have allowed 703 passing yards through 2 games. That should get the back of your fantasy hairs tingling just a little bit moving forward into Week 3. Dave, I want to talk about another guy. There's the water's wet, the sky is blue, and here on the Checkdown, we always have a table reserved for 2 for Kirk Cousins. He's back on the show, baby. He's a start this week against the Seahawks. Now, look, he might not be a top 12 play, but if you're in a 2-quarterback league, he's an elite QB2. Could perhaps put up fringe top 12 numbers this week against the Seattle defense that did not fix itself from last year. Cousins, they're 0-2, but they're off to a good start. He's completing 71% of his passes, 5 touchdowns, 595 passing through 2 games. I mean, man, Seattle last year, God, they allowed 3 games of over 350 passing yards, 7 300 passing yards games last year. And look, like the weapons, Cook, Osborne flashed this week, Thielen, Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins. The Vikings could be 0-3, but Kirk Cousins could help you win your fantasy league. He's a start for me.
Absolutely. I love the call. Welcome to fantasy teams, KJ Osborne.
Yeah.
I mean, he should absolutely be a waiver wire pickup this week. He should absolutely be rostered on teams because they're running a ton of 3 wide receiver sets. This is very different from last year. It's a very different looking Vikings. And Kirk Cousins is on a tear right now. Thielen is laughing at touchdown regression, and Justin Jefferson, like you said, doing Justin Jefferson things. I kind of really like this offense, and no one's putting up more points right now than Russ. He's cooking. They're going to have to throw. I see a very similar game to week 2 in week 3 for old Captain Kirk.
Yeah, absolutely. Dave, a couple guys further down the trough. Let's play with the little waiver wire streamer plays. What do you got? Who do you like this week for maybe someone that streams the quarterback every week, who's looking for that QB2 or maybe playing tournament style?
Joey.
Oh boy, no, don't do it.
Just look over your shoulder real quick and tell me who you got back there, pal, today.
It's either Phillip Rivers out of retirement or, oh my God, it's Sam Darnold.
No, it's not Sam Darnold. It's Fields, man. You're sure it's right there. It's time to talk about our boy.
I was seeing ghosts.
Let's talk about him. Now, sports radio will tell you that he's not ready and he looked horrible. He looked like a rookie. Let me just give you a stat line, Joey, and you tell me if this is a good or bad stat line. For to my eyes, doesn't look great. 18 for 34 with 153 passing yards and 1 touchdown. If a quarterback played a full game and that was his stat line, what would you think?
I think it's a pretty good start. Sign me up.
No, hold on. 18 for 34, Joey. 153 and 1 touchdown. A whole game for a quarterback.
Oh, putting it all together? Oh, no, that's not a lot at all, Dave. But you tell me there's got to be something more.
That was Russ Wilson's first NFL game. Okay? Yeah. Calm down, everybody. Calm down, okay? I could name the rookie games of a lot of other quarterbacks. Look, Trevor Lawrence through 2 weeks doesn't look great. Zach Wilson through 2 weeks does not look great at all. They'll figure it out. And when they do, they're going to be great. We all got excited about Justin Fields in the offseason, potentially being in this offense, and he's about to. I mean, again, time stamping it. We don't know what's happening with Andy Dalton's knee. Hopefully it's bad. No.
Oh, no. Hopefully modern medicine heals him. Dave, man, I'm with you, though. I think it's definitely worth, I think he's available in 50% of leagues right now. It's a perfect time to go pick this guy up. He's already on the field. At this point, he's ahead of Trey Lance in terms of whatever you would project fantasy-wise in terms of him actually doing something. I love that 1-2 combo with him and David Montgomery. And real quick, the Browns so far through 2 weeks, we want to talk about Myles Garrett. We want to talk about Jadeveon Clowney. They've struggled handling speed so far. And you're telling me that those dudes that want to go north-south to the quarterback, Justin Fields goes right around the edge. Going to be running the football a lot. Justin Fields is going to have to lean on his legs early, which means fantasy success early on in the season. It's not a bad call, man. I mean, you could definitely stream him and play him.
Joey, the Browns gave up a passing touchdown to each Texans quarterback. Okay?
Yeah. And two rushing touchdowns,
They played 2 different quarterbacks. One of them is Davis Mills, and they gave up a passing touchdown. I think Justin Fields will be okay. We just saw what Jalen Hurts could do on his legs alone in a bad passing game. Justin Fields, to me, is definitely in that same conversation.
Yeah, and I just wanted to throw out Sam Darnold real quick. I mean, the dude had a great week last week. He's playing the Texans this week. Texans haven't been great on defense so far. And, with McCaffrey, DJ Moore on Thursday night, I think you'd be able to possibly stream him as well and get that going. Dave, let's move on to our sits, man. This one hurts the old Checkdown's heart here, but I got to go Jameis Winston. Honestly, he just laid an egg, right? After week 1, 5 touchdowns, but only 100-something yards. You're like, okay, where does this go from here? It did not look good this week, and now they play the Patriots. Patriots have already had 5 interceptions on the season. They've only allowed 412 passing. This is just a bad matchup of a turnover-prone quarterback versus a Bill Belichick defense. I'm going sit on Jameis Winston. Who's your other sit for the week?
He was our start last week. Baker Mayfield versus our Bears. I get it. We didn't look great week 1, but we kind of came alive week 2. Tons of sacks, tons of pressure on the quarterback, and he may be without his 2 top passing options, Landry and Odell. Maybe Odell ends up being active, but he hasn't played in a while. There's going to be some rust. Honestly, I think the other big part is if Justin Fields does start on the opposing side, we're not going to be putting up a ton of offense. I think they're just going to let Chubb and Hunt do their thing and run the whole game through then. I just don't think Baker Mayfield's going to have to do too much to win this game. Therefore, from a fantasy perspective, I don't see big numbers.
I completely agree with you. Lack of receivers. I can just see the Browns and the Bears metaphorically walking to the middle of the field and going like, would you like a low scoring game? And the other one's like, I would. And they shake hands and they agree on it. Yeah, exactly. And honestly, I can absolutely see that too. Let's move on, Dave. Can we talk tight ends? Are you ready, Dave? Are you ready to do this?
Let me prep myself. Okay, I'm ready.
Well, here's the thing, right? Is that the first 2 weeks we were talking on the pre-show about how exciting the NFL honestly has been these first 2 weeks. I mean, we've been watching it our entire lives, but these last couple weeks, close games, high scoring, fantasy points, upsets, underdogs. It's coming from all over the place. Even the primetime games have been amazing, but so far, man, the tight ends outside of your typical, your Kelseys, your Wallers, they're doing their business. Everybody else is kind of falling off the map a little bit. So let's just try and read the tea leaves and do the best we can, man. And this is my honey hunches of oats pick of the week. Let's do Mark Andrews. Let's just do it, right? Let's just make it happen. He had 5 receptions for 57 yards. I'm just going on a hunch on this one. Hollywood Brown's kind of their only other offensive option right now, other than Lamar Jackson just running the ball and handing it off to whatever running back not named Dave Rispoli. Hold on, TBD. We'll see if that happens this week. Mark Andrews, I just think he's going to get the target share to hopefully maybe fall into the end zone for some points. Mark Andrews is my first start for week 3, Dave.
I like the call, Joe. We just saw the game last night because we are recording this on a Monday. And Lamar was looking at him early and often. He seemed to kind of get back to that Mark Andrews form. So I love him moving forward. I also think he's a great buy low target if you're desperate at tight end. Moving on to my start, I'm going to go with, I said I liked Herbert. I like Jared Cook, Joey, going against Kansas City. Now, this is like a temper your expectations, but this guy's been averaging 6 targets a game on a very high-powered offense, and he would have had a touchdown, but it was called back. So we could be looking at a very different box score from Jared Cook last week. And I just like what I'm seeing out of him. And against Kansas City, there's going to be a lot of points in this game. My guess is Vegas is going to have this as one of the highest totals of the week. Chargers, KC. Give me one of those offensive players in that game. If I'm throwing a dart, I'm throwing it Jared Cook's way.
Yeah, tight ends right now, I'm not really looking up to the stars and seeing how high the ceiling is. Just tell me where the floor is, right? And so far, Andrews and Njoku from the Browns and from the Ravens against KC have posted at least 8 fantasy points against them this year. Give me that floor, baby. Give me that tight end floor all day long, and I think Jared Cook could possibly do that in an offense that's off to a pretty good start.
Well, speaking of floor, Joey's, here's our next start of the week. I think it's Logan Thomas. This is a guy who has always had a nice floor, and I wasn't really sure what to expect with Taylor Heineke, but he seems kind of like he could be a younger doppelganger for Ryan Fitzmagic, right?
He's got a headband on and he's a gamer, right? Just give me that beard or grow a mustache like Minshew, and we got ourselves a slinger.
Now, this is kind of like a gut call. I'm just feeling this one. It is the Bills. It's not the best matchup, but he got 7 targets, and I liked what I saw. When you want to talk about a floor, you just can't get that with many tight ends outside of the top 8 guys. I think Noah Fant's now in that conversation, and we all know the other names. Outside of that, though, I think things get very murky, which we will get into in a minute. But I think Logan Thomas just has a nice floor, and he always has touchdown upside.
I agree with you. And Dave, I think at this point, Noah Fant only had 33 receiving yards, but he had a touchdown. I think we just can put him in the start category, right? That's how bereft the tight end depth is fantasy-wise. That this dude is just – we don't even need to comment on it, guys. It's just you need to start him every single week. Dave, go ahead.
I'm just going to tell you how bereft it is, Joey, because I compiled a list that is absolutely mind-boggling. Here were the top scorers in week 2 behind Rob Gronkowski, Joey. Hold your applause, please.
Here we go.
Max Williams.
3 X's.
Noah Fant, who was our start last week. Then it's Jack Doyle, Foster Moreau, Kyle Pitts, told you to start him, Dawson Knox, Ricky Seals-Jones, Dan Arnold, Harrison Bryant. Are you friggin' kidding me, Joey? This is what we're dealing with at tight end. This is why we said at the beginning of this year, you should pay up and try and get a top 5 tight end so you're not pulling your hair out, trying to figure out which second or third tight end on a team is going to fall into the end zone and be a top 10 tight end that week. Again, Sean, you know what? Joey, here are our sits for tight end. Sean, last week's list, roll it again, buddy.
Make it rain.
Yeah, just sit them all again, I guess.
Well, I can't. That list you just threw out there, I don't know if that's like the cast from like Ice Road Truckers or character names from like the Last of the Mohicans book. Dawson Knox, Frosty, Moreau. It's unbelievable. My final thing on Logan Thomas real quick and why I like him against Buffalo, and it's a great call, Dave, is that if you just look at Buffalo's defense last year, which really hasn't changed scheme or anything like that, they allowed 7 different tight ends to post at least 10 fantasy points against them. And Logan Thomas is one of the faster tight ends in the NFL. They got to get it from somewhere. I do like that matchup, again, in a tight end world that is not really working out for anyone early on. So that's why, Dave, let's play a little buy or sell. Just real fast, quick lightning round before we get out of here. Some guys that have some name recognition. Are you buying or selling them for week 3? Let's start with George Kittle and the San Francisco 49ers. You buying or you selling?
Talk about top 3 options, safe tight end. This is the one guy that's kind of needing a caveat right now, not breaking 9 fantasy points in the first 2 weeks. I thought Jimmy Garoppolo was going to be a good thing for George Kittle. It doesn't appear that way. And once Trey Lance gets in there, I don't think that's better for George Kittle. Here's the thing. George Kittle is a great run blocker, and they're using him a ton, and they're running some more. Just off name recognition alone, he might be a sell high for me. Now, he's going to have his big games. Absolutely. There's going to be a game where George Kittle breaks 100 yards and goes for 2 tutties, for sure. Figuring out when that game's coming, I don't know. I'm looking at the upcoming schedule. I don't see anything that they're going to have to be throwing that much for. I could see him staying in, run blocking a bunch. This might be a sell high. On the last couple of weeks, you can get that name recognition. I don't know. What do you think, Joe?
I'm right there with you. Now, look, this isn't saying, should the guy be on your fantasy roster or not? Of course, these guys are going to be on your roster, but do we like the direction that they're going? And do you get to the point where, again, name recognition means that you might have to bench these guys? Kittle, we'll see what happens. You know what I mean? They're going to play Green Bay. Green Bay allowed 2 touchdowns to Juwan Johnson week 1. Their LBs are a little banged up. Maybe this is a game where Kittle can kind of bounce back a little bit, but I'm with you right now. I'm kind of closer on the sell-off, and if you can get some names in a trade package with Kittle and move it on and maybe kind of work it from there, it might be the opportunity to do it. Speaking of another guy right now that if you traded, you could sell very high on right now, buy or sell, Dave, Rob Gronkowski. Dude's got 4 touchdowns in 2 games. He keeps rolling and he's making us look stupid for our preseason prediction.
Yeah, big egg on both our face, Joe, for this one. He was our preseason bust. We told you to temper your expectations last week, and he just keeps making us look foolish. I'm tired of betting against Tom Brady. I'm tired of betting against Rob Gronkowski. Apparently, they met Bill and Ted. They went in the past. They were able to find some mystical rejuvenation. They found their younger selves, and they transported them to now.
Yeah.
That being said, everything we said last week, I think still applies. We said he's going to have huge boom weeks. And I said it's going to be 2 guys every week's on the Bucks. And last week it was the Mike Evans Gronk week. The week before it was the AB and Godwin week. Like, it's still going to happen that way. And hopefully at some point this Bucks D gets it together. This was the unexpected factor we had in the offseason that I wasn't foreseeing when we said Gronk was a bust, was the Bucks D being this bad, the Bucks D giving up this many points, and Tom Brady having to throw this much. So I'm not saying sell him right now, because honestly, if I have Gronk, seeing the tight end landscape, I'm holding him and starting him, and I'm just going to get as many wins out of him as I can. And then I'm just, when he inevitably sits or gets injured or whatever, they're not using him as often, then I'm going to try and pivot off of him. But right now, Joey, I don't know how you can sit Rob Gronkowski.
I'm right there with you. I'm buying for now, but I'm selling for later. I mean, ride the wave, but you can't stay on a surfboard forever, right? I'm still maintaining that over a 17-game schedule, there's going to come a time when you're going to need another tight end on your roster to fill in for Gronkowski, either throughout of, lack of snaps, or just maybe he takes a couple weeks off, or the dude could get hurt, because that's just the style that he plays. So it's happening early in the season. Good for you if you're taking it, ride the wave. But again, Dave, I think what you're saying, if you could trade Gronkowski, that's a great move. If you can ride him as long as you possibly can, great. But also just keep in mind weeks 5 and 6, I think you're going to have to prepare for something else coming down the trough as he, I just think his production goes down. Dave, finally one for you. Last week he was in a lot of the comments. Thank you again for commenting. Let's talk about buy or sell week 3 for Kyle Pitts.
I'm buying. I really liked what I saw out of him.
Can I do a payment plan? Can I do small payments of $9.95? Because it's coming, right? It's on the way.
I still think he's cheap, and there's a lot of panicking Pitts owners. I get them all the time in the comments, And I tell them just, cool your jets, baby. It's going to be good.
Do you have panicking pits? Are you finding yourself unsure down there?
I sure am not. I'm liking what I'm seeing. I think a lot of offenses, kind of took that step forward from week 1 disasters. The Falcons, although they don't look great as a real NFL team, they're still kind of fun in fantasy. Ridley took a step forward. Matt Ryan looked a little bit better, like at least serviceable for his weapons. And Kyle Pitts looks like the clear-cut number 2 wide receiver on that team. As we always said with Kyle Pitts, he's a wide receiver wearing a tight end disguise. It's very hard to get that outside of Kelsey and Waller into your tight end slot. I'm absolutely buying, Joey. I know you drafted Kyle Pitts. You love you some Kyle Pitts. What do you think, pal?
Well, he put up 5 for 73. They targeted him in the red zone. He caught that one pass. I think they got tackled on the 3-yard line, so he almost got to pay dirt. So I'm super into that. I'm right there with you. I think the Falcons are going to be a terrible football team to watch, but a very interesting fantasy team to monitor moving forward. Just keep this in mind. I'm definitely buying him for this week in week 3 specifically. They're playing a Giants team. The Giants have allowed 18 targets to the tight end position to their 2 opponents for the first 2 weeks. That just gives me a good idea that they're going to be able to target him and get the ball into his hands. I mean, am I thinking huge things? I don't know, but this is the tight end position, baby. I mean, he could continue to put up 5 for 73s every week and become a 5 or 6 tight end in all of football. You know what I'm saying? And this is kind of where we're at with that. So for me,
look, Jerry, it needs to be said, caveat, huge caveat. I mean, he's no Max Williams, he's no Foster Moreau, he's no Harrison Bryant, but eventually he'll squeak in.
Seriously, man. I mean, what happened to Cole Kmet? We talked about rostering Cole Kmet, and then last week he doesn't. He has 1 target, and that target's an offensive pass interference penalty.
As an Allen Robinson, having Allen Robinson on my fantasy team, I don't know what's going on with the target distribution right now on the Bears. Maybe Justin Fields will change all of that. I mean, they did show good chemistry in the preseason, so here's hoping.
Hey, man, let more big play completions on that team, please. I think that's what we're going to be seeing. More chunk plays, splash plays, whatever adjective you want to throw in there. And that's the deal with the tight ends right now. You're just going to have to continue to maybe sort of trust what you did in the draft process, see what happens, because the waiver right now isn't really sort of bringing any sort of gems out of nowhere moving forward. We hope this helped out. This was week 3 of the Checkdown. My name is Joey Christopoulos. Tutty guy, Dave Rispoli. My man, great to see you.
Good to see you, pal.
Yeah, thanks for watching this video. Throw out your socials real quick. It's probably right underneath your video. But
I'm at Teddy Guy on Twitter, and you can now tell your kids to follow me on TikTok. No, I am on TikTok giving fantasy advice. I know a lot of you are on TikTok. You just don't want to admit it, but you can find me there at Teddy Guy, giving out great fantasy advice. And Joey, I just want to say that I hope you win your league this week, because we don't play each other. Otherwise, I'll be rooting against you, pal.
There's going to come a day where we're going to be giving some 50-50 advice here in this video, because we're playing each other, doing some little obfuscation, a little spy game stuff. You can follow me on Twitter at Joey Sports Guy, or on Instagram at Joey Sports Guy as well. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out the video last week and putting your questions and comments on there. We hope that we were able to be helpful. I think based on the results, we were actually helpful. So come on back, drop it down there again. Let's get the conversation going. We're here happy to help you guys. Even if there isn't someone in this video, we can try and give you the best advice we possibly can. This is the Checkdown Week 3. Thank you so much for checking it out on the RotoBaller video channel. See you later. Thanks, Sean Engel. You're the best, buddy.
Go win that league, guys.